Hi, everyone. Welcome to McMaster University's Housing and Hospitality webinar. My name is James, and I'm part of the student recruitment team here at McMaster. My team is here to help high school students like you through the exciting post-secondary application process. And one way we like to do that is by hosting virtual sessions just like this to talk to you about some of the things that you can expect if you choose McMaster as your future home next September. If you're not already aware, this is the second session of our three-part spring webinar series that we host every single year. Part one was a couple of weeks ago where we invited some recent McMaster graduates as a part of a young alumni panel just to talk about some of their personal experiences and journeys as Marauders. Hopefully you were there and you're able to partake in some of the great conversations we had. But don't worry if you couldn't make it because the recording for that session, as well as this session, will be made available on our YouTube channel at Mac Admissions in just a couple of weeks. But turning our attention to tonight, we're very excited to have all of you here this Tuesday evening, and hopefully with some of the information shared, you'll have a clear picture of what living at Mac is really like. Before we begin, I'd like to just start with a land acknowledgement. McMaster University is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected under the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. There's a rich history that existed in the land long before McMaster was ever founded, and so whenever we get the opportunity, we just want to recognize and acknowledge that. On today's agenda, we've invited some lovely folks over from both our housing and hospitality teams to speak to you about what living and eating is like on campus. We also have staff from both teams managing the chat to answer any questions that you have throughout the presentation. So as you're listening, if you hear anything that you want to learn more about, feel free to click the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window and submit your questions. We will be prioritizing questions that are related to today's webinar topic, so that's housing and hospitality. If you have any questions about admission policies, programs, decisions, or really even your application specifically, you can visit us at future.mcmaster.ca and email us using the contact information that you can find there. I'll also be sharing all of that information and more at the very end of the presentation, just as a reminder on how you can stay in touch with us. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to the housing team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bree Cowan. I work for the housing team. I'm one of our communications coordinators, and I'm always so very thankful and excited to be able to talk to you all things housing related. Truly is one of my favorite things to talk about, so I'm happy. When it comes to housing, why residents? I may be a little biased when I say I love residents. I love everything to do with McMaster's residents. So maybe, again, I'm a biased party as to why you should choose to stay in residence. Here at McMaster, we have 13 residence buildings located on campus. No matter where you are within our on-campus residence buildings, you're really no more than 10 minutes from anywhere on campus. I know McMaster seems like a really, really big school, but when it comes to actually walking the campus, it's not as big as you think, which is really great. When it comes to how our buildings are grouped, they are in what we refer to as quads. So these are just a bunch of residence buildings clustered together. We have our North Quad and our West Quad. Within each of those quads, there is an eatery for students to get their meals. You don't have to live in a certain quad in order to go to like another quad's eatery. You're welcome to eat wherever you'd like. I know Sydney, she'll be talking a lot more about our meal plan later on. I truly love everything residence related. Our Res Life team, the support systems that we have in our buildings, they are live-in supports, which is really unique to residents. You wouldn't be able to get that same experience if you were living off campus. So I do recommend if you have the option to live on campus, please do. We have so many room types, building types available for you to check out. And speaking about our residence styles, we have two residence styles. So we have our traditional buildings, and this is kind of what you kind of expect when you think about residence. So it's typically two students living in the same room. Those are double rooms. That's our most common room type. We have 74% of our rooms are doubles in traditional buildings. So it's really likely for you to be living in a traditional double room. With that also being said, again, why it's a traditional style residence, you would be leaving your room in order to go to the washroom, shower, things like that. Or if you wanted to make a late night snack, you do have the option of having, or there is um, common kitchens on the floors as well. So you don't have to live in a specific residence type in order to have access to your own kitchen. It's just on your floor rather than in your own space. So with that, our additional style residence is our apartment slash suites. And when we say apartments, they're really kind of what you naturally think about whenever you think of apartments. So you would have your own kitchen within the space, a common area, living room, and then access to washrooms within the unit. How many washrooms in the unit will depend on what style of um, non-traditional residence you live in. And yeah, usually you'll have like you would be living in your own room within the unit. There's typically 4 to 6 students living in an apartment style residence, where our suite styles, it would be up to 4 students living in that suite. You do still have access to a residence common area on your floor. So there is always more opportunities to get out of your unit. You don't have to just be in your apartment. There are areas beyond that. You do have your own study spaces and stuff like that within your residence building, no matter if it's a traditional style building or an apartment slash suite. With our apartments and suites, we only have 2 buildings that make up that style of residence on campus. Again, predominantly majority of our room types are in a traditional style of residence. Now, to talk about room types, we have a whole lot of them. What you see right here is a fee breakdown. These are last year's fees, so please make sure that you are checking our website, so it's housing.mcmaster.ca, for all up-to-date information and pricing like that. What style and room type you live in will influence how much money you pay for your room. These numbers are reflective of an 8-month period, and there's an additional fee of your meal plan on top of these fees. So make sure you get accustomed to the room types, see what we do have available, and what's within your budget as well. Now, to talk about supports in residence. Again, we have so many supports. The supports that you will most commonly interact with would be our community advisors, often referred to as CAs. These are upper year students that live within our building. There's typically 1 to 2 CAs per floor. It just depends on what residence you're living in and just how many students there are per floor. And these students are there to help with your transition into university life. It can be quite spooky, but they're really there to help you with that transition, whether it's putting on events. They can be either academic related events or they can just be community building events. There's always something happening in residence. One of my favorite things to see is like during any particular holiday, like I know during Halloween, they were painting pumpkins, they were doing friendship bracelets, as well as there were just some study sessions around exams or midterms. Really helpful. I know definitely would have taken advantage of that when I was in university. But they're there to help with that. They are also able to assist students with just, again, the transition. If you're unfamiliar with McMaster, they're there to kind of help point you in directions of resources. Some of them may be in the same program that you are in as well. So they're just a really great bunch of people to talk to, and I really recommend getting out there and talking to them, meeting new friends by going to the events that they put on. In addition to our community advisors, we have our residence life area coordinators. So these are full-time staff members that also live within our buildings, and their job is to oversee all of our CAs as well as all of you guys living in residence. They support events that are going on and just building that community within residents. They are also there to assist with any issues that may come up as well, conflicts. Say you're also having a really hard time adjusting to university. I know I did. So they're there to be able to go to have conversations and again connect you with resources that we have on campus. Please, please, please interact with these individuals. They're all wonderful people. We want to be able to support you while living in residence and really set you up for success uh, during your time at McMaster. So please come out to events and see the supports that we have for housing. Another thing that we do have is our living learning communities, also referred to as LLCs. These are communities within residence based off of student interest. We do have a few of them. There are more in-depth examples or more in-depth descriptions of what each LLC offers and kind of the activities that go with those living learning communities. But as you can see, some of the ones that we have here on the screen are Women in Leadership, Health and Wellness, Wilson College. There are some LLCs that are faculty based, so you have to be within that faculty in order to live in that LLC, and that would be, as an example, Wilson College. But by any means, please apply to these. They are fabulous ways of meeting friends that share similar interests as you. Typically, these LLCs would be within a floor within residence. So everyone on your floor would be a part of, say, the Health and Wellness LLC. So you know that your roommate has shown an interest in health and wellness as well as those in your hall. So easy to make friends. There are some of our LLCs that also take up an entire building. An example would be Women in Leadership that is housed within our Wallingford Hall, or as I like to call it, a little Hogwarts. It's an adorable place. So I recommend checking out the LLCs that we do have to offer, especially if you are someone that may not know anyone coming into Mac. Really great way of finding your community really early on. In addition to these LLCs, we do have what is referred to as OLCs, and these are open living learning communities. So this is, you don't have to be in a specific building in order to be a part of this community, but they still put on activities based off of these interests that you may have. They'll do like painting stuff. There's a lot. In addition to that as well, we do have themed communities. As an example, we have our all-female community, quiet community, and our substance-free. So if you are someone that is interested in living in an area with just females located on your floor. Majority of our residence buildings are co-ed. So your neighbor could be of a different identifying gender as yourself, but those within your same room would be same identifying gender. But yeah, things to look into, or if you're someone that really likes to have quiet time, you like to study in your room, maybe living in a quiet community would be good for you. It just means that you would have extended quiet hours to help with those study sessions. So there's a lot that you can be doing here in residence. No. Oh, golly gee. I went too far ahead. And now everything is just slow. Give me pause for dramatic effect. Who is eligible to live in residence? So McMaster is one of a few universities that cannot guarantee residence to all of our first year students. However, we do prioritize our first year students coming direct from high school. Again, however, we can't guarantee all of you, unfortunately. There are ways to be guaranteed. Some of those a few of those ways are if you are a first year international student or out of province. The status is determined by the admissions office. So if you at any point have any questions as to your eligibility of guaranteed residence, please reach out to the admissions office and they can help you with finding out what your status is. But yeah, who is guaranteed? We have our first year international and out of province students. The most common way is based off of an average. This average is determined by the registrar's office. This year it is 88. So if you have 88 or higher as your average, you are guaranteed. I know a common question that we are getting right now too is if whenever you first received your letter of acceptance, you didn't reach that 88 guaranteed status, but now you do. Again, please reach out to the admissions office and they can help with that situation. There is a reassessment period that happens in May. So, any questions related to your guaranteed status? Admissions. Now, with that also being said, it's really important that if you do have a guaranteed um, space in residence, that you are still applying to the housing. It is a separate application than that from your application to McMaster. You need to fill out a housing application on our website, and you also need to make your $600 payment before June 1, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're in a different province right now or out of the country, make sure that you're paying your payment by 4 p.m. Ontario time. It's really important. If you do miss that deadline, your guaranteed offer is now null and void. So pretty please make sure that you are filling out an application and paying your payment by June 1 if you have been offered a space in residence and you want to join us. That step will only show on the application if you have received an offer to residence. So if you have a non-guaranteed status, that won't come up on the application process. Now, to talk about what if you aren't guaranteed residence, please still apply. Please still apply. We want as many of you as possibly in our residence that we can house. You don't have to have a guaranteed offer in order to live in residence by any means, or all of our students living in residence, those that received a guaranteed offer. Not the case. If you apply before June 1st, you're ordered numerically based off of your average. So again, this year it's 88, but say you end up having an 87 as your average, you would then be ordered on that wait list based off of that. So say, again, I have an 87, James has an 85, Sydney has an 84. No matter when we complete our application before June 1, we would be ordered numerically based off of that average. However, if you apply after June 1, you're ordered based off of the time and date that you applied below that pre-existing wait list. So if you are considering coming to Mac, you're kind of on the fence, please still apply. It gets you a really good spot on our wait list, especially if you aren't guaranteed. There will become a time that you'll be able to check what number you are on the wait list. That comes out after June 1st. Now, applying for residence. As I had mentioned, our application is a separate application than that of McMaster. Our application is open now, so please, even after today's webinar, go in and create an application. You will need to have activated your McMaster ID, so please do that for sure. You would also be able to see whether or not you have been guaranteed residence on your offer letter. Again, there is going to be that um, reevaluation period in May, but it will typically show on your offer letter whether or not you received guaranteed residence or not. But no matter what, please still apply. We want your faces living in residence. For those that are guaranteed, make sure that you are applying and making your $600 payment before June 1. Pretty, please. Because if you don't do that, again, your guaranteed offer is now null and void. We were under the assumption that you weren't going to come to residence, and then you would have to then apply to the wait list. So please. Do that. And then after that, we do have a room self-selection. Ultimately, you will be selecting your room. That happens typically the end of June. It's over a course of a couple of weeks. So you will also get an email from our team telling you when your room self-selection is. And yeah, you get to select your room, which is awesome. More about room self-selection. It is a completely lottery-based system as to when you are selecting your room during the room self-selection process. Grades, athletics, anything like that is not going to matter as to when you're selecting your room. Even if like you were the first person to apply to residence as soon as it opens up, that's also not going to determine when you are selecting your room. It is completely a lottery-based system. So you can be the first group to be selecting your room, or you can be the last group. There's nothing that can help your chances on that. Um, yes, and that happens after June 1st that you will get that notification as to when you'd be selecting your room. It's not immediately after. There is some days before that, but just make sure that you are checking your emails. With that, make sure you're also checking your McMaster emails. You will have access to those during the summer. Now, roommate requests. As I had mentioned, 74% of our rooms are traditional doubles. So the likelihood of you living with a roommate, really high. Though, with that being said, if you do have someone in mind that you would like to room with, you are more than welcome to put a roommate request in for them. Both of you have to have received an offer to residence in order to make a roommate or a valid roommate request. So please check that as well. And you both have to have paid you both have to have made your application and paid your payment in order to have a valid roommate request. Um, and you would also be selecting each other. There's a spot within the application where you would type in your friend's student number and you search them up, and then you just click. It sends like a notification, hey, Recallan wants to be your roommate. Do you accept? Your friend would then have to accept that request. So please make sure that you're doing that as well. But you don't have to have a roommate request. Sorry, you don't have to have a friend going into a double room. During the room self-selection process, you will also be able to see the compatibility of you and a potential roommate, which is really, really cool. So if you are someone that does not know anyone coming into McMaster, totally okay. You'll at least be able to see the compatibility of you and that person based off of the answers that you give in your questionnaire that you fill out during the application process. I should also say roommate requests don't extend to those living in apartments, suites, or say a single room with a shared connecting washroom to another single room. A roommate request is those living in the same bedroom. Now, talking about off campus, you don't have to live in residence your first year by any means. You're more than welcome to live off campus. We do still have resources for you to look into if that is the case. McMaster does have an off campus website that you can utilize for resources, as well as right now we do work with a third party company called Places for Students where local landlords post their available rooms, and you can go in and see that it's very similar to like rentals.ca or anything like that. The additional benefit of doing the resources through McMaster is if we have any issues with a landlord, we can ban them from that site. So there's a bit of help that way. There is also a McMatch program, so similar to our questionnaire that we have on our application, there is a version of that for McMatch. So you'd fill out the same kind of questions that you do there. And anyone that's looking for a roommate that has also filled out a profile, it'll help you match with those students off campus. So that's a great thing to try to do. We do also have our 10 Bay residence. This is located downtown Hamilton. It is also an option for students if you'd like. It is still a McMaster residence, so you still get that residence experience, but it's a little bit more of a off-campus feeling that you're a little bit more independent, but you do still have access to the same resources as living on campus residence. And in terms of Hamilton and our transportation, wonderful. There's always a bus. There is a GO station within the area. So if you want to go to places like Toronto or Niagara Falls, there are ways to get connected that way. And as an undergrad student, you do have a Presto Pass as a part of your fees. So it's free. So definitely utilize that even if you are living on campus. Hamilton has so many places to explore. The food is amazing there, or amazing here, I should say. But yeah, that's all thing off campus. And if you have any questions after today, please send us an email. You can send that to our residence admissions team, or you can also join us on our live chat. It is operating Monday to Friday at this time, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out and we can get those answers for you. Pass it along to Sydney.
Thanks, Bree. Okay, awesome. So hi everyone. My name is Sydney and I work as the registered dietitian with our hospitality services team. So I'm here to give you an overview of our department and what you can expect when you come to MAC and dine on campus, which I'm really excited to share because we have lots of really delicious food options here at McMaster. So here's some department basics to get us started today. So we are a self-operated food service, and that means that we are run by McMaster for McMaster. So we don't have a third-party service running us, such as like an Aramark or a Sodexo or a Compass. We are independently run, which a lot of people don't know. So that means we make all of our own recipes in-house. We do about 4 million transactions every year, and that means we have quite a busy campus. And that includes well over 600 employees just in hospitality services. About 100 of those employees are actually students every year. So if you're somebody who's interested in food service and you're looking for a part-time job during the school year, consider applying to work with us. We do host job fairs a couple of times throughout the semester, and you'll see those job fairs advertised on posters and TV screens throughout our dining halls on campus and probably also on our social media. We have 19 dining locations across campus that you can use your basic meal plan dollars at. as well as a few off-campus partnership restaurants that you can use something called flex dollars at, which are optional to add. And I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes. So our focus in hospitality is to support McMaster's various strategies. So we support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are all about advancing human and societal well-being, as well as sustainability. And we're also centered around enhancing the student experience. So we're really focused on student value, and we do that by benchmarking our meal plans against other universities and colleges all across Canada. And we usually like to stay in the middle of the pack. So you'll see a variety of menu options across campus, appealing to a really diverse range of needs, including both diverse dietary needs, but also economic needs as well. So for example, we do have an initiative across campus called our $6 signature meals, which, as the name suggests, are only $6 for a meal. And this year we had options like our chana masala with brown rice. We had beef tacos. We had our 3-egg omelet with toast, just to name a couple of those signature meals. And inclusivity is also at the heart of everything we do at Hospitality Services. So to help achieve that, we do offer vegan, vegetarian, and halal options all across campus. This year, we had well over 100 vegan and vegetarian options across campus, not including the variety of options that students could create at stations like our self-serve salad bar, for example, or at franchises on campus. So if you are somebody who eats vegan, vegetarian, or halal foods, you don't have to specify or ask for those dietary restrictions on your residence application, because we do offer those options at every dining hall location across campus. You can just use our little green menu symbols on our menu boards to guide your choices. If you are somebody who has a different, more complex or more severe dietary restriction, like a food allergy or celiac disease, I'm going to talk more about what our options and procedures are for that in a little bit. And as I mentioned earlier, accessibility and inclusivity, it's at the heart of everything we do. So of course, all of our menu boards are also AODA compliant. So the theme at McMaster is contributing to a brighter world, and our hospitality department is always working really diligently to achieve that through lots of different facets. But I want to specifically highlight how we focus on sustainability in our department. So here at McMaster, we believe in ethically sourced coffee and tea. So you'll see fair trade, locally roasted, or Rainforest Alliance coffee and tea all across campus. We also have a program in place currently called Bring Your Own Mug, where students are able to purchase hot beverages like coffee and tea all across campus in their own reusable mug or thermos, as a way to both receive a discount on their purchase as well as be part of the sustainability movement at McMaster. And as much as we can during the academic year, we do try to purchase locally sourced products as well. So we're excited to share that we currently purchase around 39% of our produce locally, and that the majority of our seafood on campus is also sustainably sourced. And another initiative that we're extremely proud of is our reusable container program. So this is a program where students are able to download a QR code called a reuse pass on their phone, and they can check out reusable eco containers, just like you would check out a library book, for example. And that's as an alternative to using disposable takeout containers. So by doing that, or by dining in and using a regular plate, students can save $1.25 on disposable takeout containers. And you're also able to take your green container, you can take it back to your room, maybe to a location where you're studying, like the library, for example, and then you just return it once you're done in one of our drop-off locations. So it's super convenient. And not only does participating in that program help with overall sustainability, It's also a really great way to save money if you like to get your food to go. So many, many students take advantage of that program, and I'd encourage all of you to check it out once you get here to campus. We will have signage up in all of our main dining halls with more information on how to sign up for that free program. So Centro and Bistro are the two main hubs for our residence dining. Each of those are centered around the main quads of residence buildings on campus, like Bree mentioned earlier. And just like Bree mentioned, if your residence building is close to Centro, for example, and you feel like going to Bistro one day for lunch, they are super walkable between each other. So that close proximity opens up a lot of variety when it comes to dining on campus, just between those two dining halls alone. But we also have two other dining halls called La Piazza, which is located in our student center, and also our Institute of Applied Health Sciences Cafe, which is located in the Institute of Applied Health Sciences building. So if you have any, classes in there, that's a great one to check out. And we also have several smaller cafes all across campus that serve grab and go items, baked goods, and hot and cold beverages. Those little spots, they're really great study spots. And our staff there really love seeing regulars who utilize those spaces. So definitely be sure to check them out. There's some really great hidden gems, like our math cafe, where we serve White Buffalo coffee, which is an Indigenous owned coffee company. So once you get to campus, check those out. And we also have several retail locations on campus from some of your main favorite franchises. I'm sure you're familiar with them. We've got Starbucks, we have Second Cup, Pizza, Booster Juice, Chopped Leaf, and many more. So you can use your basic meal plan dollars at those franchise locations on campus. Meal plans are mandatory for everyone who lives in residence. There are two different styles of meal plan, which you're going to see on the next slide. There's a reduced tier option for students living in our apartment or suite style residences, which Bree mentioned. So that's Mary Kai's or Bates. And that's to account for the fact that those students, they might choose to cook for themselves a bit more often since they do have access to that larger kitchen space. And then there's also the traditional style of plans, and that would be for all other students living in other residence buildings on campus. The way that your meal plan works is called a declining balance at McMaster. So that means that it works like a preloaded debit card. So you swipe your card, your student card, every time you want to make a purchase, and then that purchase is subtracted from your meal plan and it decreases accordingly. So that's really nice for folks because if you only want to buy a coffee and a muffin, you're just paying for a coffee and a muffin. If you want to get a steak dinner or a salmon dinner, because we do have those on campus, they're really great, you're just paying for that dinner. So it's really nice and flexible for your own eating patterns. When you're looking at the meal plans, you're also going to see the terms basic and flex dollars. So the difference between the two is that basic dollars are for your non-taxable items, and that's going to be the bulk of your purchases on campus. So the majority of the food that you're going to be eating on campus at dining halls and franchise locations. And you also have the option of adding what we call flex dollars to your meal plan account, which I'm going to talk about more on the next slide. So flex dollars are used for things that the CRA considers taxable. So our off-campus partners or non-food items that you might choose to purchase with your meal plan, just like you can see in the chart on this slide. So students are able to use flex dollars for things like on-campus printing. You can use them at the campus store, etc. And you are able to purchase flex dollars and add them to your account if you would like to use your meal plan at some of those off-campus partners or for those non-food items on campus, like you can see on the chart here. So not mandatory, just an option for you. And funds in your basic account, those will carry over after your first year minus the non-refundable overhead costs, whereas any flex funds you choose to add, those are refundable. You can add money to your basic meal plan dollars at any point throughout the year, so you never have to worry about running out of meal plan dollars if you have a big appetite, or maybe if you stayed on campus, for more weekends than you had originally planned, because you love it here so much. And I'm going to talk more about those different meal plan sizes that we have in just a minute. But for any students who might choose to live off campus, so not in residence, we do also have an off-campus meal plan that is optional. So some students choose that because it's convenient for them to eat on campus when they have longer class days, but they're still able to take advantage of the non-taxable benefits of having a meal plan. But we do also accept debit and credit cards across all campus locations if you didn't want to purchase that. So here you can see the 4 levels in each style of meal plan that I mentioned previously. So again, apartment plans, only an option for students living in the suite or apartment style residences. So those are Mary Kai's or Bates, and the traditional plans are for all the other residence buildings. These are our updated prices for the meal plans for the upcoming school year. We offer the 4 different sizes of meal plans, so options A through D, to help you choose the plan that's going to best fit your needs based on your lifestyle, economic factors, etc. And we often do get questions like, which size of meal plan should I purchase? And there's truly no right or wrong answer to that. It's really individualized. But when you're thinking about, which meal plan level to choose, we typically recommend thinking about factors like how often do you plan on dining on campus? How often do you plan on, going home on weekends? Are you someone who likes to, or you have a really large appetite? Do you tend to eat less? Are you going to eat breakfast in your room every day? So those are the types of questions to ask yourself when thinking about what size of meal plan to purchase. But don't forget, you do always have the option to top up your meal plan throughout the year if you're running out. And also please remember that your unused basic meal plan dollars, they will carry over after first year, but the non-refundable overhead that's part of the meal plan will not carry over after first year. We have a more detailed breakdown of our meal plan policy you can access on our website, and that's just at the bottom of the slide there. So like I mentioned earlier, inclusivity, it's at the heart of everything we do at Hospitality Services here at MAC. So we're very proud to have our 2 simple locations on campus. So our simple locations are our allergen-friendly locations. So they are free of most of the top allergens. So that includes shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, eggs, milk, wheat, gluten, soy, sesame, and mustard. While all of our staff across campus receive yearly allergy awareness training, staff that prepare and serve food at Simple have received additional training specifically on how to prevent cross-contamination for allergies in these Simple locations. So only Simple trained staff are allowed to enter those stations or prepare Simple food. Simple locations, they have extra allergy protocols in place to help prevent any cross-contamination. And that includes completely separate receiving areas, separate storage, separate prep areas. Those are only accessible by our Simple trained staff. And they also use completely separate products like spices and herbs and things like that. Simple specific utensils as well, and Simple designated ovens and other cooking equipment. So we have 2 Simple locations, one in Centro, one in Bistro. So if you remember, those are our 2 main residence dining hubs. So both centered around those 2 residence quads on campus. The Simple location in Centro has a 28-day rotating menu, and that usually offers 2 different animal protein options every day, a fish option, 1 vegan protein option, a veggie side, a starch side, and a side garden salad option every day. And then the Simple location in Bistro has a static menu with items like burrito bowls, salads, rotisserie chicken dinners. There's a gluten-free pasta option there, just to name a few. And then they also have two additional rotating feature dishes every single week, one of which is an animal protein and one of which is a vegan protein. And I want to stress that although Simple was created to better meet the needs of our students with severe food allergies and our students with celiac disease, anyone is able to purchase food at Simple, and many students and staff do. I myself eat there quite frequently. The food is really great. This year, we had a stuffed portobello mushroom, we had scalloped potatoes, chicken biryani, Cajun salmon fillet, shepherd's pie. Those were all really big hits. And all of the Simple meals, they are created with Canada's food guide in mind. So they're quite balanced. They're really colorful. Like I said, they're very delicious and they're always baked or roasted or stewed. They're never deep fried. So that's really nice. So if you are somebody who does have a severe dietary restriction, and when I say restriction, we would consider something like a severe food allergy, celiac disease, or a medical condition impacting what you eat, for example. Those would be, a severe dietary restriction. So essentially a condition or restriction that a medical professional could attest to or confirm a diagnosis of. Please reach out to me. I'm the registered dietitian. Reach out to me before you apply to residence and purchase a meal plan. So that way we can talk about the best way to help support you when dining on campus and what that might look like. And that way we can make sure that you feel really comfortable moving forward with the options that you're going to have available to you prior to applying for residence and purchasing a meal plan. And we also offer a webinar for all the incoming students with those severe dietary restrictions at the end of August every year. So connecting with me, it's also going to help ensure that you're put on that list of incoming students with those severe dietary restrictions that are going to receive an invite to that webinar. And I think that is all from me. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sydney. Thank you, Bree, and both teams for all of that amazing information. And thank you all for spending your evening with us. Be sure to write down these emails that you see on the screen for any questions that you may have about what you heard today. The very last email at the very bottom is just for our student recruitment team, and that's where you can ask pretty much anything about MAC, from programs and offerings to admission-related information. Speaking of staying in touch, here are a couple of more ways that you can stay up to date with all of the very exciting things that are happening around campus. You can visit us at future.mcmaster.ca. This is a website that's made specifically for high school applicants looking to learn more about McMaster and all of its offerings. You'll also see that we have our upcoming May at Mac Spring Open House next Saturday, May 9th. This once-a-year event is really all hands on deck for faculty, students, and staff at McMaster. So if you want to get an idea of what campus will actually feel like when you're a student there, make sure to register and come out. You can do so on the website that I just mentioned. And also, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, the recording for this session is going to be posted on our Mac Admissions YouTube page for those that weren't able to attend in its entirety. Finally, that brings us to the end of our presentation. In a couple of weeks, when all of you hopefully will have your offer letters in hand, we do welcome you to join us for our final webinar in the spring webinar series that's titled Next Steps Now to September. So you can join us on May 26th as we invite our colleagues from the Student Success Center to talk to you about things like what you can do this summer to prepare for first year, as well as what you can expect in your first week of school, including things like the move-in weekend, welcome week, club fairs, and more. As with everything, registration for this event can be found on the future.mcmaster.ca website. We are ending a little bit early, so I'll give you 10 minutes back in your evening. Thank you all again so much for joining us. If you have any questions that are unanswered, I'll leave the call open for just a little bit longer for us to address. And if we don't address it, you can always email us using those emails that you saw on the slides before. So again, thank you all for joining and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye.